Master Automotive Technician. Why a Master Automotive Technician matters for your vehicle safety and reliability. Beyond routine auto repair, when most people think of auto repair, they imagine services like oil changes, brake jobs, or tire replacement. While these are essential, keeping a vehicle truly safe, reliable, and long lasting requires something more: the expertise of a master automotive technician. A master technician, master mechanic, represents the highest level of certification and professionalism in the auto repair industry. They don't just fix problems, they prevent them, lead teams, and protect customers' long-term investment. So, what is a master automotive technician or a master mechanic? And you notice how we actually have to say master automotive technician because there's just so many different kinds of technicians, right? And most people call technicians mechanics, not all, but most. And most people inside of the industry have evolved to where we actually call our mechanics technicians. And of course, we're in the industry, so we actually know that a mechanic is a technician. We're not confused as to what kind of technician it is. But master is not in our industry, in our world, as in most, I'm sure. Master isn't a casual title. It reflects years of study, rigorous exams, hands-on experience. Typically, it refers to an ASE certified master, proof of expertise across every major automotive system, including engine repair and performance, electrical and electronic systems, heating and air conditioning, brakes, steering and suspension, manual and automatic transmissions, drivetrains, and axles. But true mastery doesn't stop there. With vehicles advancing every year, hybrids, electrical vehicles, advanced driver assistance systems, which is ADAS, master technicians commit to ongoing training. They're lifelong learners, ensuring that they handle modern challenges with precision. The difference between a mechanic and a master technician is, it's tempting to assume all repair professionals are the same, but that there is a critical difference. A mechanic may be capable of routine services and simple repairs, but may rely on trial and error for complex problems. A master technician uses advanced diagnostics, system-level knowledge, and proven processes to identify the true root causes, fixing the problems correctly the first time. For example, a check engine light can signal hundreds of issues, thousands of issues, tens of thousands of issues. A less experienced technician might replace parts until the light disappears. A master technician pinpoints whether it's a faulty sensor, a wiring problem, or a deeper system fault, saving time, money, and frustration. And leadership inside of the shop. Master technicians are more than experts with tools. They're leaders. Their role includes monitoring younger technicians to raise the shop's overall quality, collaborating with service advisors to clearly explain repairs to customers, setting accountability standards to ensure every repair meets professional and safety expectations. They create a culture of excellence, ensuring customers receive consistent, trustworthy service. And it is literally a mastery that's earned, not given. Becoming a master technician requires dedication. It means so much. The amount of time, effort, and energy it takes. It's funny, if you're talking about a master blacksmith, it's 10,000 hours. It's literally 10,000 hours. If you're talking about a master technician, depending on the person, obviously, it's way more than 10,000 hours, way more. Learning how to beat on metal as a blacksmith is simple compared to what mechanics go through. When they go in and they actually have to read a wiring diagram and a flow chart. The flow chart literally can have so many different steps in it, it's not even funny. So you're talking about, I like to call it the oak tree, right? So you have it used to be just one oak tree, one computer. And then, of course, now there's anywhere from 20, 30, 40 computers inside of a car. Okay. So you got a grove of oak trees. Now, you pick one of the trees, and at the base of it is where they plug in, to the OBD2 and start reading the quote codes. And everybody thinks that the code's just going to tell them exactly what's wrong. Very rarely is that the case. They're actually going to then go to a flow chart. The flow chart is pretty funny at that point, because we're going to have to like climb the tree and go to a branch, a sub branch, a sub branch, a sub branch, twig, leaf, and we're going to have to find out if that leaf is the problem or the connections leading to that leaf is the problem. I mean, does it got power going to it? Does it got vacuum going to it? Whatever is making it work. And then we do an ohm test or whatever we have to do on that specific thing. And it says that it's good. It doesn't say that it's good always. It says it's good right then. And then we have to backtrack, climb back to the base of the tree, and following the flow chart, go to a different spot, maybe a different tree, so we're literally all over the car. And just like the bark on a tree, the wiring and vacuum lines and everything, they're not visible to you. Well, they're not visible to us either. So we have to, they're like behind bark on the tree. They're covered up. And think about it. When you open your hood, you're not seeing a bunch of stuff running around like we used to. I mean, there's obviously stuff running around, but not near, you don't see it like we back in the day. It was so easy to get this stuff. It wasn't even funny. You could literally climb into the engine compartment. Think about a rear wheel drive, meaning you got the engine, and the engine is facing front to back. So there's room on each side of the engine to actually climb into. Back in the day, depending on the size of the vehicle, obviously. And then the transmission is behind the engine, still front to back. So, and that's why you used to see in trucks and stuff, cars, you would actually have this big imprint on the inside of your vehicle. That's where the transmission fit, right at your feet level. Okay. And then you have the drive shaft, and then you have the rear axle, and that's rear wheel drive. That's powered you along. Well, it's still that way, but they just covered up. You're not climbing in the engine compartment because there's so many more components. With the government saying you got to have all these some small emissions coming out of the tailpipe, all of the regulations. So they've had to enhance stuff. I can only imagine where the automotive industry would be without those regulations. Funny. But now, in a front-wheel drive car, the engine and transmission are both at the front of the car, along with the drive axles. Everything that went from the front to the back of the car is now in the front of the car on front-wheel drive vehicles. And there's no room. There's no room. Cars have gotten smaller as a group and as a whole. And I mean, think about the Lincoln Town cars and the Ford Thunderbird and those gigantic Cadillacs. I mean, they were like boats, right? Now, I mean, everything's more compact and so much more efficient. It's not even funny, but that doesn't mean it's efficient for your master technician, your master mechanic. What that means is that they can't see where stuff is. So we actually have to take stuff apart to get to components a lot of the time to follow that flow chart. Okay. And we're going to have to follow that flow chart. And there might be 15, 20, 25 things on that flow chart. So as we're following that flow chart, if it's the first thing on the flow chart, congratulations, you just got really lucky. Life is good. Depending on what that one part is, it might be an expensive part. It might be an halfway inexpensive part. So the labor's not going to be much. The part's not going to be much. You just got lucky. But the funny part is everybody seems to think that they shouldn't have to pay until the technician actually finds what it is, and any wrong directions that the technician took, they shouldn't have to pay for. Well, if you walk into a doctor's office and the doctor runs tests on you to find out what's wrong, and the test comes back negative, you still pay for the test. Why? Because it took their time, their knowledge, and equipment to run the test. Just like it takes a master technician the time, the effort, the experience, and the equipment. I mean, and again, they're rocket scientists. I mean, these master techs are true rocket scientists. So they have to understand how so many different kinds of systems work, not just singularly, but in harmony with each other to make that vehicle go down the road. And it happens so seamlessly on most cars nowadays that we seem to have forgot exactly how much more complicated it is. You know, in 1974, they came up with electronic ignition, original equipment on most vehicles. Before that, there was points and condensers, and of course the carburation systems, and they had to do with carburetors because of emissions, because that's just dumping fuel, right? Just dump carburetors, just dump that fuel right down in that motor without a whole lot of regulation. And the closer it was to the carburetor, the more that each one of the cylinders could maybe get into it, and on and on and on. Now there's GDI. I mean, direct injection, which goes directly into the cylinder, which causes so much more carbon problems. It's not even funny inside the motor. Um, so it's truly a fantastic situation or scenario when you start talking about a master tech. We have C techs or general service techs. They come into the industry, most of them with little or no training. So we have to pay to train them. And then, they start out changing oil, putting on tires, doing flat repairs, small, meaningful services. I mean, the most meaningful, but ones that we can actually pay attention to and make sure they're being done properly. And then we, teach them how to start doing some brakes, start doing some belts and stuff like that. The easier stuff, and they're getting more immersed. Well, by that time, it's cost the shop so much money to train that person. It's not even funny. I mean, if we're able to get 5 or 10 hours a week production out of that person, that we're actually able to collect money for, it's amazing. But we're still paying them for the 40 hours, but we're only collecting, 10 hours for a long time, depending on the person, depending on the situation. Some definitely go faster than others. Um, and then we have to have the people like, the master tech. So having a master tech, have an apprentice, so that the apprentice can start learning from a master tech before they become a quote journeyman, a B tech. Journeymen in our world are B techs. And a B tech is I like to call them parts changing freaks. Probably not the appropriate thing to call them nowadays, but the faster they can change those parts out, the faster and the better they can change those parts out, because we don't want comebacks ever. We don't want to inconvenience the customer ever. Faster and better that happens, that's what we're after. And then they have some kind of a brain aneurysm and they want to become an A tech. Well, the difference between an A tech and a B tech, that diagnostic capability, is the difference literally between night and dark. I mean, night and day. I mean, night and day difference. I mean, there's two different things completely. Having the ability to diagnose something, being a master technician, being a master mechanic. Wow. I mean, wow. So working on a car is just, for us, is literally like exactly like a doctor working on you. I mean, the only difference is we get to turn the motor off, and they don't get to turn the motor off when they're working on you. Oops. And they bypass hearts and they bypass all kinds of stuff. So they do turn it off, just in a different way. Um, Really, there's no difference though. And problem is that most humans have the ability, most of the time, to at least tell the doctor what they're feeling. Mm, Car doesn't have a voice except the OBD2 and us pulling the codes. That's its voice, and that gets us going in a direction. But it's not a guarantee, it's just a direction. And there can be multiple directions. Just because there's, one code doesn't mean that there's one problem. Think about that for just a second. Stay safe, stay strong.